Welcome to Mabuhay TV and Multicultural channel. I'm your host, Julia Lim. Our guest today is the woman of the hour and one of the Filipino businesswoman leader in our generation today. Jacki Wild, founder of Tito Boy and a founder, Delight Digital. Jacki Wild is a seasoned communications and marketing professional with over a decade of experience managing successful community-focused initiatives within the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. As a racialized woman in business, she understands the critical role anti-racism advocacy plays in advancing equitable outcomes for her kababayan, fellow country people, and the broader business community. Welcome, Jacki. Thanks for accommodating us today. Welcome to Mabuhay TV.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation, Julia. I'm really excited to be here and very honored to have an opportunity to be representing our Philippine business community here in Manitoba.
Oh, awesome. So, Jacki, just before we go on to the business side, can we tell us more about you?
For sure.
Yes.
I don't really love talking about myself, but I will try my best.
Yes, yeah, just share what you can and you're comfortable.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
Definitely.
As you had mentioned, I own a business. We
Yes.
have a business called Tito Boy Restaurant, which is the very first Philippine restaurant in the south end of Winnipeg.
wow, okay.
And hopefully not the last. Hopefully we can see many more of our kababayan opening
Whoa.
up businesses in the south end and all areas of the city.
Yes.
But my background isn't actually in food. So I had
Oh.
spent the last decade primarily working in the nonprofit sector and communications and marketing and fundraising roles. And then I ended up in the corporate sector for another half decade before ending up in this incredible entrepreneurial journey.
wow, that's quite a resume.
Yeah, it's very a different path that I ended up on, but it was really through the incredible work of the Manitoba Filipino Business Council that actually inspired me to take the plunge and finally, after a decade of volunteering with them, actually, do as we have been advising many of our members to do, to take that leap of faith and to bet on yourself. And so here we are a year later. Our restaurant just celebrated our 1-year anniversary back in October. So
wow,
we're still rocking and
congratulations.
rolling,
Way to go. So speaking of restaurant, is the restaurant name is Tito Boy. Tito means uncle in the Philippines, right? So tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So the restaurant is actually named after my father. So he's really the heart of our kitchen. He grew up in southern Leyte as a young boy. He really spent a lot of time with his mom in the kitchen while his family would work on the farm and his dad would work out like on the lumber yards. And one thing that just always brought him joy is being able to cook with his mom in the kitchen. And so he learned a lot of the recipes that we get to make today in the restaurant from his childhood. And it was
That feels like home, right?
It really does. Yeah. And it really warms our hearts when we have some of our kababayan that come by and tell us that it does taste like the food that they ate growing up. Like that is the greatest compliment that you can pay our family. But what's also really beautiful is that we do have a lot of younger, culinary school graduates. We have, some very creative young people that are from different generations, first, second, third generation Filipinos and Filipinas and Filipinx people that are really helping us craft this very innovative menu that's not just traditional food. We have traditional food, we have fusion cuisine, we have dishes on the menu that celebrate many different ethnocultural groups that are truly representative of what it means to be a Philippine Canadian today. So,
oh, I love that. It's not just about the food, it's about the culture as well, combined in one.
Exactly.
Wow, amazing. So Jacki, being a businesswoman and business owner, what are the challenges? I mean, kudos to you. Not all can do it, right? Yeah. But what is your biggest takeaway?
Yeah. How much time do we have?
I know we have more, but go ahead.
Yes. I mean, in terms of some of the greatest challenges, being like a business person, I think one of the greatest challenges for me personally as a Philippine business person, and I come here representing the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, coming from the lens of being a racialized person in business, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to access. And like a lot of our community members, we come from very humble beginnings back home. Like both of my parents were farmers. You know, they came here with very little, and they were lucky enough to come through the provincial nominee program, and were able to kind of, you know, start a new life here in Canada.
Yes.
But they didn't come from money, so like they didn't have the intergenerational wealth that a lot of Canadianized families do have. And so you know, so many people in our community can relate to that. And as a Philippine person in business, you need a lot of capital in certain business streams to be able to actually start up your venture. So if you don't have that capital in your bank account, where are you going to get it from? And the idea of accumulating strategic debt, whether it's through a bank or through, like, you know, Women's Enterprise Center has been a really great partner of ours through the restaurant. And, you know, there's many other really great partners like Futurepreneur and North Forge, just to name a few. But the idea of debt in our community is often
like a bad.
It's taboo.
Yeah,
right?
it's a taboo.
Talking about debt because, you know, you don't want to have to owe somebody else. But as a business person, I've learned to overcome that fear of talking about debt and how you can actually use debt to strategically grow and scale up your business. But it's one thing that just isn't talked about often enough in our community. And I'm sure like many other immigrant communities too, because our families had risked so much financially, you know, professionally, emotionally, socially, to move halfway across the world to come here. So the idea of like spending all that money.
Or being a hard worker. We've been taught to be hard work, not being like a business owner or a business-minded person or people.
Exactly. Collect our pensions, get those benefits, retire, you know, with your cushy, you know, whether it's like a government job or, you know, a corporate job. And, you know, I did the corporate thing, and it was fine. It was great, and it was a very comfortable life. And, you know, I had my first daughter and went into corporate, and then I went on my second maternity leave. And it was at that point where I was really at kind of this crossroad, trying to figure out, am I going to go back into the corporate world and probably spend the rest of my career there, just because, you know, there's a lot of benefits to working.
It's really a big and tough decision to make.
Yeah. Or do I put myself in a ton of debt and decide to, you know, really fulfill a lifelong dream of my family's? Like, this was really my dad's dream. When he moved here to Canada in the 80s, like one of his first jobs was as a dishwasher. And he eventually went to culinary school in the 90s and ended up working in kitchens for a few years. And it wasn't until he retired as a healthcare aide, literally 2 months before we had opened the restaurant, that he got to circle back and actually like make this dream come true. So it's been like a really great opportunity for our family to reconnect, for us to be able to like share culture, not just between us, but between the community that we've created with our team, with the folks that come into our restaurant. And so we definitely feel like that is there's something that's really important to share, for sure.
Wow, that's an amazing story. That's really inspiring. And speaking of inspiring or inspiration, so what are your inspirations being a businesswoman and, you know, wearing a different hat, like, you know, being a mother, being a wife. So what is your biggest inspiration?
Inspiration? That's a really good question. I don't know if I would necessarily say I have an inspiration, but I do have a really great support system. And there are people that are part of our community, in the Philippine community and beyond, that have been tremendous mentors and amazing support people. And they are the reason that, like, and my family, you know, I have a really great partner. My mom and dad, like, basically run the restaurant alongside me. And they are the reason why we can actually make this happen. You know, we talk a lot about that collectivist versus individualistic culture in the Philippine community, and it's that collectivism, that sense of like you are part of one greater whole that you really do feel when, you know, you operate something like this. And it's really been a pleasure to do that with my family. And I do feel like a lot of other Philippine community members are, you know, in a very similar position where they have very supportive family members that are, you know, they're taking care of their kids when they're going to work, you know, during the day. And, you know, it's such a common thing that happens in our culture. But I think in some ways that really is a great jumping off point to start a business, because we do have those familial supports that you don't normally see in other communities. And you know, as a working woman, as you know, a wife and as
Yeah.
a mom, otherwise, if I didn't have those support systems in place,
Oh,
it would
yes,
be
it's-
impossible to juggle it all. It would,
Of course.
it really, really would be.
It takes a village.
It really does.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
thing.
definitely. So speaking about MFBC, stands
Yeah.
for Manitoba Filipino Business Council. So you
Yeah.
are the president.
Yeah.
Wow. So woman, a president. So how does it? What is your biggest role, or what is your vision? You know, taking this role as the president of MFBC.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I've been volunteering with the Manitoba Filipino Business Council for over a decade now. I first started there right out of college.
Oh, wow.
I was recruited as a student to help organize their gala.
Oh.
And it was my first exposure to what could potentially be. Like, I didn't know any Filipino people that were business owners
Yeah.
or that, you know, were just hustling in the way that I had seen so many of the, you know, the board members back then, the membership back then. And I was really inspired to just continue on, and I ended up, you know, volunteering in a variety of different roles and eventually becoming the president. And so that means I had this, you know, decade of history that I have been able to witness from, you know, the very high highs to the very low lows too.
Okay.
But all the while, like, we've had an incredible number of volunteers that have been able to keep us consistently, you know, top of mind in our community, and have been able to continue pushing us to, like, reimagine what this council could be. And when I had first joined, it was a very particular type of council,
Okay.
you know, and which was great
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like that version of it at the time. But when I had taken over, what ended up happening was we ended up electing a majority female board. We had all but one board member who were women. You know, we had some much younger voices on that board
Love it.
too,
Yeah.
which totally changed, like, the entire narrative of
Yeah.
how we envision supporting the community, because all of a sudden you have young people on our board and they're like, where are our support systems?
Yes.
Where, like, what programs do you have to be able to support us and that speaks to us? And when you have, you know, more women at the table, we get stuff done.
Of course, yeah.
We get stuff done. And
Yeah.
so all of a sudden, like, everybody is just, you know, driving the bus in
Yeah.
like the most effective and efficient way, and we're all working towards the same goal. And so when we had gotten together as a new board back in 2021, we had talked about our new vision and mission statement.
Okay.
So, like, our vision really is to serve as a community resource hub for Philippine business people, business
Okay.
professionals. And that doesn't necessarily mean you just need to be an entrepreneur. You could be somebody in business that works really closely with, you know, the entrepreneurial world, or maybe you're starting to think about, you know,
Okay,
starting
that's
your own
nice.
side hustle, or like if you want to be a life coach.
Oh yes, definitely. We'll talk more about life coach. Okay. All right.
But
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we really took that kind of angle with the way that we wanted to position ourselves in the community, because we are a volunteer group at the end of the day. You know,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
ideally we would love to get government funding to be able to be more sustainable and have, like, an executive director and
Yes.
do all
Yeah.
those really great things. But right now we're just all volunteers.
Oh,
So
I can imagine. I also
Yeah.
run a nonprofit, and it's
Yeah.
not easy. Especially
lot.
like with the word there's volunteer, right? You take your
Yeah.
time. It's free time,
It
but you're
is.
doing it because you love what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
It's your passion, and I think you're
Exactly.
passionate about it. Passionate about
Yeah.
business, about the community, you know,
Yeah.
helping others,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's the community that ignites that passion for sure.
Oh yes, definitely.
And so because of that, like, we realize, though, like, we don't want to overtax our volunteers either. Like, we want to be able to get the best work out of them, but also be really effective and efficient with the work that we do, because we only have so much time in our days. So we really built this community around being a resource hub, because as opposed to curating all those resources, which would require, like, lots of full-time help, we are the community connectors. We are here to be able to connect, you know, say somebody just moved here from the Philippines and they want to learn about, oh, like, how do I start a business? Do I need to register a name? Do I need to get incorporated? Like, what do I need to do about, like, do I need to register for PST, GST? Like, all of these different things that maybe are really unfamiliar
Yes.
for a newcomer. So we have, like, a really great array of members, so we can connect them with the right people that they need to talk to. So, okay, you want to talk about, like, what kind of legal entity that you need to be for the particular type of business you have. We have some really great lawyers here that we can connect you with. Or do you need to sign up for PST? Like,
Yeah.
how do you sign up for GST? Like, how do you, you know, balance out those tax credits? We have a really great accountant that you can talk to. Do you need to get some money? Do you need to talk to a bank? Do you need to talk to a lender? We have those resources.
Oh, wow.
So that's really where we shine as a group, because we've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to have all of this history as an organization where we have garnered a reputation as being like a group that is very welcoming. You know, we are a family and we treat everybody as thus. We want to be able to welcome everybody with open arms, whether you're from the Philippine community, you're not, you're a newcomer, you're like a third generation, fourth generation Canadian, it does not matter to us. It's a safe space where everybody can be a part of this community. And so we try as much as we can to connect people with the people that would really benefit them with where they envision kind of their next steps growing with the business ideas that they have.
Awesome. So Jacki, if our audience, so where can they connect with you if they want to know more about MFBC or be part of MFBC? So you can tell our audience.
Yeah, for sure. So the Manitoba Filipino Business Council, we're about to launch our website.
Oh, okay.
So that is coming in the next couple months. But in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram. So we're at MFBCWPG on Instagram, at MFBCWPG.
There you go.
And on Facebook, it's just Manitoba Filipino Business Council. And we host regular events, usually at least once every month or two. We have 2 events coming up, actually, that are free for the community.
Oh, nice. Where is it?
So the first event is coming up on February 7th, and it's part of our Business Fundamental series. So it's more of a professional development piece that we have a lawyer, an accountant, and a commercial banker that runs the series. And so on February 7th, we have a session on commercial lending. So
is it free?
It's free. It's totally free. February 7th. It's at the Aikens Business Center on Sargent Avenue from 6:30 to 8.
Oh, nice.
So it's a really great way to, again, we're talking about that strategic debt, like how do you even figure out what that looks like? Who do you need to talk to? What kind of things do you need to have to be able to even qualify? So that's what that session will be about. And then the week afterwards, on February 13th, from 5 to 8, we have our annual general meeting and our very first ever blood drive. So we're doing it at Canadian Blood Services. So it's in you to give. It's optional to give if you just want to come to the AGM. There's no pressure. But it's a really great opportunity for our kababayan to come out to the Canadian Blood Services Center because they are in desperate need of blood from the Philippine community specifically. Because they're, especially with our plasma and like our stem cells, there are unique aspects to like the Philippine biology that you can only get from us that they really need in their donation bank. So we're inviting as many folks that can come out to give, to be a part of that. And you don't need to be a member to attend the AGM, you just wouldn't have voting rights. So you can still come for the AGM, which is like a really small portion of the program, and then you can come join us for. So
everybody's welcome. So don't be shy. Everyone's welcoming, right?
And then you can sign up to be a member there and
there
then
you go. Right? Look at Jacki. She's an amazing president, and talking about as a woman, is it more challenging to be the role of a president, and also even in business? Do you think that is it more harder to you know, as a woman, I would say in general, like in business or being a president of a prestigious, good charity or a nonprofit organization?
That's a good question. I would say that, I mean, I've been very fortunate to have opportunities to serve in leadership roles without having to face as much misogyny as I'm sure many have before I have. And there's, some really amazing role models in our Philippine community that probably help break down a lot of those barriers before younger people like me and the next generation have been able to we've really been able to take advantage of those opportunities because the previous generation had to take on those hardships. Not to say that misogyny is always going to be around, but I think that there is a different level of respect here in the Manitoba community in particular because we are such a huge percentage of the population. Almost 1 in 10 of us are Filipinos that live here in Winnipeg. And when you're almost 100,000 people strong, I think people understand, like, we're a voice that you need to listen to. And whether I'm a woman, a man, a non-binary person that's sitting in the presidential chair, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Like, you are really, it's not about me. It's about the board. It's about the community.
Yes.
Because it's really their voice that is getting leveraged in the work that we do. I just happen to be one of the many faces that will come in and out of the seat.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but like, I also want to encourage other young Filipinas to be able to dream up like what that could look like for them too. And I have 2 young daughters, so being able to showcase that, like, if you want to, like, if mom can do it, you can definitely do it. You'll go far above and beyond what I've ever been able to be capable of doing. Like, they just have like the whole world that's just like ready and waiting for them.
I love that.
It is really, really encouraging though to see other young Filipinas, in politics and business and community, succeed because we're very fortunate to have a supportive community here. It's not like that everywhere. I'm fully like well aware of that, and I check my privilege every day because not everybody has those opportunities. But we want to create those opportunities for others too, and we invite whether you are a Filipina, you're a young person, maybe you're from a different community that is underrepresented. Like, we want to welcome you into our world and our space because we want to create and pave those pathways for you too, so that way you can be the best version of yourself, whether it's in business or otherwise. So.
And there's space for everybody. I think we can contribute, right? We have all our skills, knowledge, gifts that we want to share to the community, and we become collective. It's powerful. Yeah, right.
Exactly. And the Filipinas, we're here to dominate.
We're a strong Pinay. Yes, definitely.
Yes, Pinay power.
Yeah, there you go, Pinay power. So Pinay means like Filipina, or like a Filipino woman, right?
Yes, exactly.
The word of Pinay.
Exactly.
And speaking of that, like, I know you have a lot of success in your job as a mom, as a business owner in the community. So what is success for you? That's a big word there.
It's interesting because I've had a few conversations about this lately, and I think culturally a lot of us connect money and like the accumulation of financial wealth with what the traditional definition of success may be. And I have never been poorer in my life because of all of the debt, the utang, as we call it.
Well, I would say good debt.
Strategic debt.
Or there goes strategic debt.
The most amount of debt I've ever been in. So I'm not rich in money necessarily as a business owner, which is, again, another very common misconception is people
who doesn't have debt in Canada anyway.
Exactly. Enough said with that, but that's a whole other topic that we can talk about. But I think that success really does, in my mind, like, I connect success with your physical, mental, spiritual health and well-being. Like, are you feeling truly fulfilled? Like, and do you have any regrets in the back of your mind of like what could have been, or I can do more than what I'm doing now? Like, that untapped potential, I feel like if you can at least explore that, I feel like that is the closest that you can be to the most successful version of yourself. And I think that one other thing that we need to be mindful of is that failure also is part of becoming successful too. So even if you try to do something that is outside of your lane and things don't go exactly as planned, that's totally okay too.
It's okay to fail.
Exactly.
I think most successful people we know, they said they love getting failure.
Exactly.
Failure means success.
Exactly.
Like, where else you gonna go, right? You fail and you go
That's how you build
higher
resilience.
and higher, right?
It's 1,000% true. Like that is how you build resilience. Some of the most successful business people have, declared bankruptcy, have had many failed business ventures. So like I definitely think that it's easy to be discouraged on that pathway to success because things aren't going exactly as how you had laid out in your business plan, or you have an economic recession or whatever it may be, things that are out of your control, and that's okay too. Like, at least you are feeling fulfilled in not having the questions of what if. Like, if you have those what ifs that like lie deep within inside of you, within you rather, I feel like that is that is an untapped opportunity to achieve success in my mind. So.
Wow, that's a golden nuggets out there, Jacki.
Thank you.
Wow. So I know right now that all the businesses, like of course our economy right now of higher like groceries, things like that. So how do you keep up with this challenge, like as a business owner?
Like, I cry many nights. Just joking.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, real talk.
Yeah,
though,
real
but,
talk. Okay.
I do think that there are going to be economic hardships, especially following the pandemic. You know, things were just absolutely wild with interest rates, and like you said, like in my business, the cost of food has gone up, exponentially. And borrowing, of course, is a lot more expensive right now too.
Yes.
Everybody's feeling the pinch.
Like housing and everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
Nothing is going to get cheaper, and this is something that we as Canadians, not just Manitobans, are going to be having. We're going to have to pay for this for a long time because of everything that was implemented during the pandemic. And again, that's something that no one would have ever been able to foresee.
Yes.
But I think as long as you have a community that you can connect with, that you can be really honest with, and share your hardships with. Again, like if you need to cry into a pillow, you guys can do it together. It's totally fine.
Or people do boxing. I was like,
hey. Exactly. If you need to like go
that.
on like a group like boxing class to just get out.
I guess it's important also to do other things outside from the things you do, right? You have to be sociable or do like some activity, like exercise, or it doesn't have to be exercise, like something yoga or meditation. I think it's very important as well, like mentally,
Exactly.
We have to take care of our mental health as well.
Mental health is so important because there's so much that is out of our control.
Yes.
Whether it's a business person, it's just a member of the community. I think the pandemic has really has underlined that fact that there's only so much that you within the parameters of your life that you can have full control over.
Yes.
But what you can control is like how much self-care you designate.
It's
to
important.
Yourself.
There we go. The self-care, I love that. Self-care is very important. Regardless, you're a mom, you're a business owner. You need that self-care.
Yeah. Exactly. And self-care can look like so many things, like you said.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It can be an 8 hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. For some people, that is a luxury.
Right? Yes. Or taking a shower or being in a bathtub, like things like that. Exactly. Listening to music, so it doesn't have to be. You didn't have to spend money as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So last but not the least, what is your message to our kababayan out there?
Yeah.
What's your general message?
Just overall.
Overall message,
I would say just kind of an overarching message that I would love to share with our kababayan, our fellow country people, and just like the wider business community is don't be afraid to start and don't be afraid to fail. I'm in the thick of it as a new business person. I took the leap, and it's been probably one of the hardest, most challenging things I've ever done in my life. And there were a lot of mistakes that were made along the way, and a lot of hardships that I still continue to face until this day. But in many ways, I have never felt more fulfilled than I am in this moment, being surrounded by so many amazing people in our community. So I would never rewrite history in that sense. And I know that there are a lot of people that are just too afraid to take the leap and just to take that first step. And it's okay to take baby steps too. You don't need to make this massive grand gesture like opening up a restaurant right after your maternity leave after the pandemic. But just don't be afraid to start, and don't be afraid to encounter hardships along the way. It's just part of the process.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of golden nuggets out there. But write it down, hey?
You got the footage, so.
Yes, there you go. Make sure you write it down because that's a really wonderful, amazing message from you.
Thank you.
And lastly, like if I don't know Jacki right now, what is the 3 things that you could describe Jacki? If you say Jacki is...
I don't know.
I give you a challenge.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. I would say number 1 is curious right now.
Ooh.
Like I love learning. I love reading new books. I just finished Killers of the Flower Moon, which is a really great book.
Love that.
The movie just came out. I would highly encourage people to read that one. energized, I think.
Ooh,
is another
yeah,
word.
I love your energy. You're smiling all the time. Love it.
Loving the energy because I feed off of the energy of amazing people like you,
Ooh,
Julia.
I love that cool smile. Yes, thank you.
So that's another another adjective I would use. And then the last thing is hopeful.
Ooh.
Hopeful for the future of what can be for not just like my personal circumstances, but for the entire community. There's just so many exciting conversations that are happening about what the future could look like for our kababayan and beyond. So I am really looking forward to what the future has in store.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know we have more talk and more topic to talk about, and 1 hour is not enough.
Yeah.
But I want to say thank you so much, Jacki. You're an inspiring woman. You inspire me. You inspire audience. And yeah, I hope we can replicate more Jacki. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is your host of Mabuhay TV and Multicultural Channel, Julia Lim. Again, thank you for our amazing guest today, Jacki Wild. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching.